Hello there, my very good friends. On today's wrestling news, I'm going to tell you all about the top SmackDown star that might be unhappy with WWE.
Could Enzo and Big Cass make a return to WWE?
Going to tell you about another SmackDown star who almost debuted on the main roster as part of The Shield.
And more streaming issues for AEW. I'm Adam Wilborn.
And I'm Andy Murray.
And this is the news.
Okay, so let's kick things off with Shinsuke Nakamura, who has been on Instagram suggesting perhaps that maybe all isn't well with regards to his position and how he feels about it in WWE. So, Nakamura uploaded this clip to his Instagram page. It's a promo on Apollo Crews, keeping storylines going over after the events of this week's SmackDown. Bunch of comments on it, as you'd expect. One of them came from Lost King Shamar, who stated that, Nakamura should stop wasting his time, wasting his talent in WWE. Now, another Instagrammer chimed in and said, hey man, stop it. He's happy. He gets to surf. He gets to work a safer style. Shinsuke Nakamura is happy in WWE. Shinsuke Nakamura replied to this himself, and he said, who said I'm happy? Don't believe anything other than what I've said. So it's an interesting line, this, because whenever we talk about Shinsuke Nakamura in WWE, and whenever people say that he hasn't been used well, or he's not in a good position, or he could have been having better feuds and matches and everything, a common response is always, and we've said this ourselves, well, maybe he's just happy living in Florida with his family and surfing all the time. The surfing thing comes up constantly in conversations like this, because he loves to surf. So it's always just assumed that Nakamura's actually kind of okay with where he is. However, this comment suggests the exact opposite of this. Now, of course, pro wrestlers are pro wrestlers. They are essentially professional liars. They are always working, and a lot of them will do stuff like this on social media to just send people off the trail and get idiots like us talking about it on a YouTube video at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Monday. However, it doesn't really follow the thematic line coming from the Apollo Crews promo. It's not like those two things are linked in any way. So it's interesting to think about. I, for one, have never really considered that Nakamura might be properly unhappy in WWE. But here we are. This is what he's posted, and let the speculation commence.
Yeah, exactly. Quite surprising, this, as you say, because you just assume what everyone says, and I don't know exactly what the phrase is, but the whole, once you've done your art, you do your money wrestling, and maybe that's what he's doing, and like you say, he's working a safer style. He appeared to be enjoying himself and just living this perfect life. That may not be the case. He has made a bit of a resurgence, I think, in WWE over the past few months, and there was speculation in and around the Royal Rumble, what could go on with him. I don't know, I think it's going to be very interesting what happens with him next, and particularly at WrestleMania. I feel like this is a big one in terms of you want to put him in some sort of big match, and I don't know exactly what that might be as of right now, but maybe if they have some sort of big multi-man Intercontinental Championship ladder match, he could really show out in something like that. What do you reckon, Andy?
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough to gauge where Nakamura is going, because he had that great showing in the Gauntlet match. And then it came out a few weeks later that Nakamura's push was only ever going to be like a short-term thing, and that he'd been told by the company, your role is to create new stars. That came out, I think it was the first week of February. It was then revealed that the Gauntlet match role was supposed to be for Cesaro, but the only reason Cesaro didn't get it was because he hadn't signed a long-term contract with the company. So it's a lot of mixed messages, and it's a lot of confusion, and a lot of looking at where Shinsuke Nakamura is, and having that excitement coming out of the Gauntlet and then it just kind of being extinguished, which has been kind of a pattern throughout his entire main roster run, really, if you go back to the AJ Styles feud as well, and world title runs that never were. I would like to see him in a big spotlight in WrestleMania. I think he's a very talented guy. Will he get that opportunity? I'm not so sure. A multi-man clash for the Intercontinental title or anything else might be the best he can hope for, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. It's a pay-per-view payday for a guy in a big spot who can do cool things in that match. But it's not quite what people were hoping for coming out of that Gauntlet, which is a shame, but that's how WWE works.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, keep an eye on how this goes, because I feel like him and Cesaro could both be perfect guys to challenge Roman for the world title in the immediate aftermath of WrestleMania, where we all kind of know Roman's probably going to be retaining, but at least we get a full build of them challenging for the title, and there's always that maybe, just maybe. I mean, it won't, but maybe, So we'll see how this goes. Let's move on and talk about the return of Big Cass. He tagged with Enzo Amore over the weekend, returning for Doc Gallows' Lariato Pro Wrestling. And a new report from WrestleVotes seems to suggest that Enzo and Big Cass do still have their supporters in WWE, although pump the brakes a little bit. That doesn't mean whether anything is going to be happening. No word on that. As I mentioned, Big Cass made his pro wrestling return over the weekend and subsequently tweeted, after a long journey filled with an enormous amount of self-reflection, I now start my journey towards redemption. Thank you, Luke Gallows, for the opportunity, and thank you to everyone for continuing to believe in me. Hashtag straight out of step 12. His first pro wrestling appearance since late 2019. He had a backstage incident at a WrestlePro event involving Joey Janela and Pat Buck. He took a hiatus. He's obviously had some issues with mental health, and just great to see. I mean, he looks fantastic, Andy, but great to see him back in a wrestling ring with his mate.
Yeah, he's in tremendous shape is the first thing that comes to mind when you see this clip and this photo. Look at the guy, he's absolutely ripped. But yeah, ultimately coming out of this, I'm just happy that the guy seems to be in a much better place, because things sounded really, really dark for him, unfortunately, when that stuff at that WrestlePro show, and there were some bits and pieces before that as well. He'd spoken about his struggles with mental health issues on a couple of different occasions. So happy that Cass is in a better place, happy that he's doing well. And wish him nothing but the best for the future. He's had a rough ride this past couple of years, so all the best to that guy. He deserves a little bit of brightness in his life, I think, for sure.
Yeah, I think both of those guys, they may have a couple of haters, but I, for one, would love to see him back in WWE. So, Andy Murray, how you doing?
Yep. Speaking of things that there's no link to this story, Big E, he had a network special, 24 special uploaded last night. Look, it's a WWE Network special. You know these things are fantastic. Not going to give you in-depth thoughts on it because you know it's good already. Check it out. It's good. All kinds of revelations and little tidbits and little bits of knowledge relating to his pro wrestling career, as you expect from these documentaries. But the most interesting thing coming out of this, I think, is the revelation that he almost debuted on the main roster as part of The Shield. He spoke about this during one of his talking head interview segments on the 24 special here, and he said the following. My first feeling of getting called up was 2012. I was doing loops. Any collective period of days is a loop. He was with Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Dean Ambrose. There was some thought of bringing all four of us in together as a group. Obviously, that changes. They go on to international fame as The Shield. He was told basically that he was going to be with Dolph Ziggler and AJ Lee, and he was going to be attacking John Cena. And he was thinking, man, this is it. So that's how it played out. The Shield debuted at Survivor Series 2020. No, not 2020, 2012. Big E debuted on the main roster a few weeks after, maybe a month after. And obviously the Shield went on to become future world champions, all three of them. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, obviously still in WWE today in very high positions. Not sure what happened to that Ambrose guy. He went missing some point a few years ago. Haven't heard from him in a while. But he's obviously doing his thing now on SmackDown as well. He's the Intercontinental Champion. This is interesting to think about. We've all heard the Cassius Ohno rumors that Cassius Ohno himself has shot down several times in the past, most recently on this podcast with the Podfather, Conrad Thompson, for ad-free shows. A little bit of advertisement there, why the hell not? But Big E in the Shield is an interesting proposition, although, he found the New Day, of course. Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, they came together in 2014, right? 2014 for the New Day, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm probably wrong. And it's safe to say that things have worked out pretty well from him regardless, right?
Yeah, I think it would have been a weird fit having him in the Shield. I've no doubt he would have made it work, because I think Big E's a fantastic performer. But in the end, maybe things worked out for the best, because, the New Day just revolutionised the career of Kofi Kingston and just tag team wrestling despite Vince McMahon's best efforts, basically. And look at the position Big E is in right now. He's Intercontinental Champion. He's probably going to have a really good storyline with Apollo Crews going into WrestleMania, who his reinvention on SmackDown, by the way, I thought was sensational too. And look, he's going to win a world title soon. I really do believe it. And very quickly, speaking of Big E and WhatCulture Wrestling, watch this space. That's all I'll say for now. And let's conclude with some issues for all Elite Wrestling. They're, of course, supposedly streaming their Women's World Championship Eliminator tournament on Bleacher Report on Sunday. That was meant to be going out for US and international viewers. Allegedly, there was some sort of streaming issues along all that. Tony Khan, though, as he always does, responds to it, sorts the whole thing out. You can watch all the matches that took place right now available on YouTube. Annoying for AEW, but let's be honest, Andy, not really their fault.
Yeah, it sounds like the problem was on Bleacher Report's end here. It's a real shame because the marketing for this tournament hasn't been great. There were people tweeting yesterday, like I was just going to sleep and there were people on Twitter going, how the hell do I watch this show? Like, you said it's on Bleacher Report, but do I need an app? Do I just go to the website? What's going on? Where is it? So there's definitely lessons to be learned with the process of this. Tournament matches have been on Dynamite, they've been on YouTube, they were on Bleacher Report, for those who were fortunate enough to be able to watch it on Bleacher Report last night. The thing with the Bleacher Report special is that AEW were encouraged by the positive TV ratings that the women have been doing recently. Britt Baker recently, who on earth did she face? And it was really good and we really enjoyed it this past week. I've totally forgotten. Nyla Rose.
Yes.
Yeah, the most watched thing on this week's episode of Dynamite. The woman had the most watched segment on the previous week's episode of Dynamite as well. So that's what spurred this whole thing. The multiple platform thing hasn't quite worked out, I think, as far as, as much as the promotion would have liked. But lessons to be learned, but the women's division's getting better. They're pushing good TV numbers. They're going to have the finals. There's another show on YouTube tonight. Finals on Dynamite. Title match at the weekend. It's trending in a positive direction at the very least, and credit to Tony Khan for sorting this thing out.
Yeah, I certainly believe if you're going to give an option, I mean, they'd probably prefer neither of these things, but if you'd rather have problems go wrong with the tournament or problems go wrong with streaming of the tournament, you'd take the latter. And it looks great, and like you say, the build towards Revolution looks really good. Exciting to see where they head over the next few days. Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCultureWWE, of course, if you want to get in touch. This first question today comes from Nick Lynch, who says, when do you think Tamina, nobody's Mina, and the Lost Uso will be joining the head of the table?
Yeah, I do think Jimmy Uso, as soon as he comes back to TV, will be thrust into that. Original comeback date was sometime around December. That didn't come to pass. Jay then said, hey, it'll probably be January or February. That didn't come to pass, but he's been at the PC training. We've seen the footage. I would expect him to be back on TV. Click your fingers, he'll be there anytime soon. Jimmy Uso back on the scene. As far as Tamina goes, man, they kind of could have done that already, right? If they wanted to throw her as part of this storyline, if they wanted to make her part of the whole deal. I'm dubious as to whether or not they would ever do that with Tamina. It just seems like they would have done it already. But I wouldn't rule it out entirely.
Yes, exactly. I can't wait to see Jimmy Uso back in WWE properly. And really buzzing about that potential tag match being set up for Fastlane. We'll have to see how that goes over on the Blue brand. Adam Schmidt gives us our second question of the day. Says, good day, Adam. Will AEW Revolution take a hit in viewers with them going up against the NBA All-Star One Night Special? Should they have stuck to a Saturday night pay-per-view? I mean, they obviously should have stuck to Saturday nights because it's better for us, Andy.
Yeah.
But what do you reckon?
Yeah, so it's a complicated process that led to them airing this on the Sunday night. One of the other reasons for the Bleacher Report special yesterday, one of the other reasons for that being on a Sunday was to get people used to the idea of them having Sunday shows because Revolution's on a Sunday. But there were all kinds of clashes that led to this. There was, I prefer fake sports to real combat sports. There was some kind of boxing thing originally scheduled for last Saturday, which would have been the original date. And then there was, I think this Saturday, there's like a Paul brother, like Logan Paul, Chris Paul, Sean Paul, what? Paul Levesque. One of the Pauls was going to have a thing that I don't know if it's even happening. I'm all over the place. So, yeah, there is some stuff going on there. In the NBA All-Star Game last year, I think it did something like 7.2 million viewers. It was up 8% on the previous year. So there's definitely worries about a clash. But the AEW pay-per-view buying audience has proven itself very loyal. Regardless of what's going on at the time, it typically comes in around 100,000 buys. I would expect that to be the same for Revolution. I don't think we'll see too much of a variance with that.
No, exactly. I still think they'll hit 100,000. But yeah, I believe the issues was Canelo fighting this weekend just gone. And then, yeah, one of the Paul brothers supposedly fighting Mayweather. Or I think that's been delayed because they want 80,000 people in the stadium. Which,
what?
Yeah, it's gonna be a while, Floyd. Sorry about that,
I like
mate.
Sean Paul as well, but I'm not seeing him fight in front of 80,000 people. Gee whiz.
Right, final question today comes from Mad Pancakes, who says, as Moxley is still IWGP US champ, would you like this? Up the stakes for Moxley versus Omega. Have John and Kenny defend their belts in a winner-takes-all match. Kenny wins both titles and goes on a mission to collect all the world titles. TNA Impact are the same thing. ROH, New Japan, NWA, Ring of Honor, etc. What do you reckon to that, Andy Murray? And what do you reckon to Moxley still being US champ?
Yeah, I was shocked by that result because we all figured this was going to be part of the paternity leave tour, didn't we? He was going to lose all his belts, go and look after the kid once it's been born. Yeah, I think you might be onto something, particularly after the Kenta match, which was really good, by the way. If you need to get Jon Moxley out of there for a few months because Renee's pregnant and she's due very soon, if you need to get him out of there, this is a really good way to do it. I would not rule out them saying on Dynamite, hey, you're putting up both of the belts, Jonathan Moxley, and you're going to lose them to Kenneth Omega. Yeah, I wouldn't bet against it at all. And
then we might get his Death Rider theme as well.
Yeah, that'd be sexy, wouldn't it? That would be sexy.
Right, let's move on to today's, and finally, a big shout out to Drama King Matt, aka Matt Raywalt, aka the former Aiden English from WWE, who just tweeted a boy popper over the weekend. He just tweeted, "This will be my legacy in wrestling," and then showed a DM that he got from someone that just said, "Are you Cesaro?" To which he responded, "Yes." Simon Miller, what do you make of that?
Yes, very good, Big Cook. I've always kind of thought that when Aiden English shaved the head, he did bear a bit of a resemblance to Cesaro. And look, Cesaro is a very sexy man, so that's a big compliment, I think.
Yes, exactly. I think he looks so much better as well with the shaved head, I have to say. I love that Mania where he came out, I think, on the kickoff show with hair, and then later on, I just thought it was fantastic. And I think he deserves a lot more in this business. So, yeah, he's been, linked. I mean, I saw him tweet Big Show, Paul White, when he got the job on AEW Dark, saying, "Oh, do you want another co-host?" And I think he deserves it. I think he's really talented, and I think more people should do more with someone like the former Aiden English, because I just think he's so talented in the ring, but in particularly on the mic, which is, still a genuine quality that people really do need to place more emphasis on in modern wrestling. So yeah, hopefully you can get some more stuff off that. But regardless, Boy Popper on Twitter, thank you for that, Matt Raywalt. Sorry if I butchered your surname there. Let us know your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcast. Myself and the Dandy Boys previewing a big episode of Monday Night Raw a little bit later on today. Plus, let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Watch there. You can follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Happy Birthday, Big E. What a coincidence that is.
Look at that. Happy birthday, Big E. Follow me on Twitter at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCultureWWE. But for now, I thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us. I've been Little Cook, and I will see you soon.
Got the wrong cook, didn't I? Damn it. Curly Watts.